everybody. Welcome back to our Instagram Live. This is Donnie from Eterneva. I am super excited today to have Ali Briggs on as a guest. Ali is the CEO of LifeWeb, which is an amazing company that makes scrapbooks and memorials and legacy projects out of people's lives, which we just think is so important to keep people's legacy going, some conversations open. And just thought I'd have her on here today to ask her some questions and find a little bit more about what LifeWeb is and why it's so important. So Ali, if you could introduce yourself, that would be amazing.
Yeah, thanks, Donnie. Super excited to be here. I love what Eterneva does. I love everything that your brand stands for. And I'm super excited because at our core, we're trying to do the same thing. I know you're all about celebrating remarkable people. We're about keeping people's memories alive, preserving the communities around a family that has lost someone, really the community of people that love that person, and capturing the person's essence in the process. So all about their life and not about their death, really the things that made them unique. That's what we aim to capture. To answer your question, so LifeWeb 360 memorial scrapbooks built by your friends and family. What we do is make it really easy for friends and relatives to share stories and photos of somebody that's passed away. And then we organize them on our digital platform in different ways, like by theme of life or into an interactive word cloud. The word cloud is really, that's getting at the heart of the essence of the person. And then when the immediate family is ready, people are on different grief timelines and it varies. When the family's ready, they can come back to this really beautiful gift that's been created by that entire community. And then we can actually engage those people to check in with the family over time. So you can opt into notifications for things like reminders on key dates to check in with the family. We have lots of resources and ideas that we send out. And everything that we do is in service of really keeping memories alive and keeping that community together to celebrate and remember that person.
I love it. You keep saying community, which is so much about what we are trying to do here. And I think a lot about what the grief, wellness, and death positivity movement is about is the fact that maybe in the past, or even a little bit currently in the US, grief, death, and loss was happening in such isolated ways. I think without people sharing or talking about it or, opening up. And I think it naturally came to this culture to push things to the side. Maybe we had very few rituals other than maybe a funeral, which we know that world is changing incredibly fast. But building communities now with partners like yourself that last, I think, really help push all of this forward. So hopefully in the future we are not grieving alone and this becomes way easier of a thing to talk about and remember someone. So I think that's amazing what you're doing.
And even what you're saying now, one of the things that we like to think of our product as doing is not replacing in-person gatherings when it's safe to have in-person gatherings, but really extending them. So extending the wake, extending that story sharing and that coming together to support each other, extending that for, your memories of the person come up all the time. Something that you see makes you think of them. And I guess also coming back to, all the people that have those stories, finding a way to continue tying them back to the immediate family that would really love to hear a new story, a funny thing that their person said, a photo that they've never seen before. Taking all of that beautiful stuff that happens at a funeral reception or a wake, and saying, why does it need to stop there? Why can't we continue building on this person's story over time? And to your point on continued bonds and people continuing to be together over time, letting that whole community know it's okay to say the person's name. It's not going to make the family sad. They're happy that you remember their person. And I think there's a tremendous educational component that there's so many people in the end of life space, and you've had a lot of them on on the Instagram Live. You had quite a roster. I'm so excited to be included with all these superstars. There's so much great work that I think is being done to just educate people on how we can all get through a loss together, and that it's not necessarily something to move through, that it's something that stays with you, and it's okay for that person to stay with you over time.
Yeah, I mean, that hits on the head, like, this philosophy so much, and we say this at Eterneva a lot, that people often die two deaths, you know, the first real death, and then the death when people stop talking about them. Because, you know, the trend is that after a year, people kind of stop, or a lot less. They stop calling a lot less, visiting a lot less, you know, the casseroles stop coming. And it just kind of feels like there's a forgetting happening. And you're still there. You're still in your grief. You're still dealing with this loss, whether it's 1 year, 5 years, 20 years, forever. It doesn't really go away, but there was no kind of outlet for that conversation. How do you bring someone's name back up? You know, how do you keep talking about them and telling those stories, which really, I think it's those rituals that are able to help societies like move with grief, you know, heal with grief. And so I would love to know more about, especially in this kind of space where you're capturing the essence of someone, how have you really seen that benefit families that go through this type of experience?
Yeah. I think a few ways, and that's definitely the best part of my job, is seeing that benefit, talking with the families that we support on our platform, talking with the people that share memories. It's definitely, you know, we're only working with people that have lost somebody that's very important to them, and so that's hard. But at the same time, you know, we can't change the fact that their person passed away.
Yeah.
We can't change the fact that they died. We can change how they can continue remembering and make that part easier. I think what we've seen for a lot of families is the power of seeing a new photo, or hearing a new story, and that really being as close as possible to a new memory for them, where maybe it's something silly that they said at the water cooler and it's a colleague that shares it, and it's not necessarily a memory, it's just something funny that they said that stuck with them, and you can hear it in your voice. It's, oh, that's so them. That's really powerful. Another thing that has been really cool to see is, you know, when people are sharing written memories, we're pulling out adjectives, keywords, their favorite things, places that were important to them. And what you end up with is this sort of composite picture of how they showed up in the world and how other people saw them. And it's very specific to the person. And I think that's really powerful because it sort of shows the family other people really saw my person and saw the things that made them who they were. It wasn't just me that knew that they were hilarious or made the best beef stew or whatever it is. It's like other people recognize those really specific talents, and I think that's, I would imagine that's quite, I guess, validating or comforting. It also triggers new memories. Thrift stores. That was the word that came up in one of our families. Oh my gosh, yes, thrift stores. They love thrift stores. They drag me into every thrift store that we passed. I have so many used Hawaiian shirts as a result. It's really it's cool to see that jog people's memories and bring up these really joyous, happy feelings.
Yeah, I mean, even just from the way you were describing it, like, that's such a beautiful way to make a sense of connection or belonging that's like even deeper. You know, like especially when you realize you see someone for like the full human that they are, and you like relate to it and love it even more, even though they've passed. There's definitely like a lesson that you're learning about like even you talking about that now is like, oh my God, there's so much for me to learn while I'm still alive from situations like that. Yeah.
Well, and I think it's two parts. I think it's the learning. I think there's the, other people saw that that this person loved thrift stores, and like I knew they loved thrift stores, and this person said they love Madonna. I had no idea they love Madonna. Or, oh my gosh, my grandma did what when she was a kid? Like, those are the things that are so cool because, and that's where the 360 in our name comes from. We're LifeWeb 360. It's this idea of this 360-degree memory of the person. It's like who you are is who you are to all the people that knew you in different ways. And it's, you know, something that comes up so much is, oh my gosh, I wish I would have known all of this about this person while they were still here, which I think is that's sort of the broader end of life rabble rouser conversation. I'm not sure is you know, rethinking and that's less so the space that we're playing, and we're really focused on memorializing somebody that's passed, but it's just, it's beautiful to see the new things that people can learn through the story sharing from others.
Oh, I love what you said about the 360, but that's what it was really about, like seeing a person and I think that's just so important in life now. And that's kind of what I think we've seen so many downsides, or we've perceived a lot of downsides to new technology, social media, all those things, because maybe sometimes we feel it does give us a shallow perception of who someone is, but there's so much beauty in exploring the fact that maybe it can do so much more. It can be so much more connecting and holistic. So I think that is super, super cool.
100%. We're all about trying to squeeze everything out of the word empathetic technology. Like let's get all the juice. I feel like social media gets such a bad rap, and it's definitely that's a whole other conversation. We think of ourselves, instead of a social media platform, as a social memory platform, and we do things a little bit differently to create a really empathetic experience where technology is used to help and to bring people together. So things like every memory that's shared on our platform is reviewed by our curation team. We've yet to have an issue, but we're so sensitive to something that would upset people that are going through one of the hardest times in their life, that's something that we feel is a really important added step to take. Or curating the memories. Something that we hear a lot from people about if they would like to share something on Facebook when someone passes away, is they're really concerned about how they'll be perceived, and maybe they haven't seen the person in a while, and so they do have a memory of them, but they're afraid to share because they don't want to be seen as drawing attention to themselves. And so the way that we have our website set up, you can look at childhood memories. And so if you haven't seen them since childhood, that's okay. Here's a spot for your memories, even if it's a small one. And here's some other things that are probably going to jog your memory because they're from the same types of people or from the same period of time. So I think we have a lot of thoughtful folks and interns and advisors that have informed the design of our product and the psychology. There's a lot that's been written by really talented academics on grieving online. And so all of that has sort of informed the last year of our research and product development.
I think that is so amazing, and honestly sounds like such a beautiful product. If you could even just share a little bit, an example of how it works, I think it'd be so, it's so heartwarming and beautiful to see these kinds of things come to life. And I think just like having an example of why these things are so important and beautiful and how you've used them to illustrate someone's life would be amazing.
Sure. Do you want me to
yeah.
show product? Sure.
Yeah.
So what I'm going to show you is an example LifeWeb. So we want to be really mindful of the privacy of our families and cultivating that community of people that knew and love the person that passed. So I'm going to show you an example which won't give you the full power of the real families on our platform, but it'll show you the functionality. Let's see. Can you see what I?
Yes, I see it. And it's beautiful.
Okay. So this is a LifeWeb page, a LifeWeb. We have a little bit of a new thing right now during COVID. A lot of people, as you know, are having virtual funerals, virtual memorial services. And so we've got some added things on if you wanted to embed a Zoom link. I know you had Christina from New Narrative on last week, and we had the best time working together last month, creating some guides for families and funeral directors and other funeral professionals on virtual memorials. That's a whole separate thing. So this is our product. You'll see there's a cover photo for the person.
That word cloud is so beautiful because, I mean, and maybe I'm such a visual word person. It's just like, wow, like that is such a beautiful way of like capturing someone from all those different points of view, you know?
Yeah, and I mentioned that they're like the idiosyncrasies, so it's all the unique words, adjectives, but also like, so like if you click deviled eggs, here's all the memories that we have on here that mention deviled eggs. So there's two. They must have been some delicious eggs. Another thing that you can do is you can explore by life themes. So if you clicked on family, for example, same thing, it would filter the memories in that way. So these are either memories from family members of Janice, our fictitious example person, or they're about her family. So they're, and then what else? If you go back to the main page, you'll see that we have photos, written memories, and then you'll see these quote cards. I really like these because they're the snippets of memories. So these are coming from different memories. And they're like a nice snapshot similar to the word cloud. Or you could read through the entire memory that they came from. And then to share a memory, we also have, if families would like, they can send us a Spotify playlist that we embed. And I really love that because I think there's a tendency to be concerned about, oh, this is going to feel really sad. But the music that people are putting on these Spotify playlists, it's the person's jams. It's what they love to listen to. And so it's all in the spirit of how do we make this really feel like the spirit of the person. Like the brand is not meant to be LifeWeb. The brand is meant to be Janice.
Yeah.
And then if you share a memory, so we have an option where you can also just email a memory, which makes it a little, for people that are more comfortable with email, makes it easier to get the widest array of memories from folks. You can write a memory, you can audio record up to 3 minutes, or you can add photos. We ask how you knew the person, so that helps us with creating sort of the life theme chapters of our digital scrapbook. And then you can opt into information on future memorial events and tributes. This is super important right now, as most families are having something immediate and then they're having a larger celebration of life in the future. Reminders of important dates to check in with the family, and then ideas from our team on ways to celebrate a loved one or support a grieving friend.
I think this is so beautiful. Like you're right. It brings like the positivity and like the life that the person had. And another thing I think that's brilliant about it is it's giving those families and friends and people who are close to a loss, like the literacy to keep talking about them. You know, like there it all is. It's there in language. It's there in photos. It's there in music. And maybe before we didn't have a great language for grief. How do we talk about it? How do we even open this up? And there it is. It's almost like this is a nice, beautiful, it's not a language that's new to us. Maybe we forgot that this is a nice way to talk about it. And I think that is absolutely like phenomenal, really.
Thank you. Yeah. And it's funny that you mentioned I haven't heard it described in that way, but I love that, like the giving people the language. People are afraid, I think, of things that are blank. And if you think about sending a sympathy card to someone, that can be really tough. What do you write? And so a lot of sympathy messages end up being, I'm sorry for your loss, or I'm here for you. And that's so important. That's so important to express that you're there for the family. And what we're trying to do is, in addition to that, create a spot where even if the family is not ready to hear a really happy memory, we can capture it and preserve it. And it's something that, years later, they might not want to go back to sympathy messages, but going back to memories, that's a whole other story. I love that, a language for talking about the person. That's great.
I mean, and it's so much what we're about too. And you're right. Like, while there are places for this sucks, the condolence, the acknowledgement, really what it is about is it's not just condolences. It is about, for us, it's remember remarkably. It's like a very similar, it's like, what's the brightness and positivity, and what do we learn moving forward from this situation? How do we carry this with us? And you gave people a way to carry it. I think that is really beautiful.
You guys as well, this is why geek out brand love. We're all about, how do you get the light of the person, and with you all, diamonds, I mean, it's sparkling, it's light, it's like, let that person's essence shine through. I also love, we have a memorial shop, and we have something in it called a conversation starter bracelet, which is, we'll do charm concierge, and get a charm that reminds you of your person. That's exactly, the Eterneva diamonds are that, but magnified, where you have something beautiful, and anytime anybody asks you about it, you've got this wonderful in to share a story about your person, which I think is so cool.
Yeah, say their name, remember them in a beautiful way, and even as a company, we think there's so many ways to do that. There is not one right way to do that, which is why these sessions, I think, are so important, is that this can look and be different. It's truly a movement, and I'm so happy that we can just be there as a community and keep building it as one. But to everyone that's been watching, this has been Ali Briggs of LifeWeb 360. Go check them out online, LifeWeb 360. They will also be in our blog post with all the links. But Ali, thank you so much for joining us. This has truly been a heartwarming and inspiring session, so thank you.
Thank you so much for having me, Donnie. This is great. This is awesome. Thanks, everyone at home. Stay safe.
Yeah, stay safe. Have a good one.